The moment the ceasefire exploded, Iranian missiles break through Israel's skies. The question that changes everything. Do you remember where you were when you heard the war was about to end? Of course you do. The whole world remembers. Because we were told the ceasefire would begin in April, negotiations were progressing well. Trump was confident a deal was within reach. But what if all of that was an illusion? What if, while the world was celebrating the end of the conflict, Iranian missiles were already being prepared beneath the ground? This is not a movie script. This is what happened only hours ago. Iran launched its first ballistic missile attack against Israel since the ceasefire began. Israel is threatening a crushing response. Trump is calling Netanyahu and reportedly telling him, "Do not retaliate." And the most important question remains, is this the end of peace or the beginning of an even deadlier war? Ballistic missiles. Cross the sky. 10. Iranian missiles. Over Israel, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Jerusalem. Residents across northern Israel were going about their normal day. Then suddenly, air raid sirens echoed across the region. The Israeli military issued an urgent statement. Approximately 10 ballistic missiles were launched from Iranian territory toward Israel. Images quickly flooded news networks. Missiles streaking across the skies near Kermanshah in western Iran. Israeli civilians rushing toward shelters, and an Israeli military spokesman calmly announcing all missiles were successfully intercepted. But that was not the entire story. Iranian state television broadcast scenes of celebrations in Tehran. Iranian flags waving, missiles soaring overhead. A message directed at the world: we are here and we are not afraid. Why now? Beirut burns and Iran responds. Only hours before the missile launch, the world was watching a very different scene. Israeli warplanes carried out a major strike on Beirut's southern suburbs, the stronghold of Hezbollah, Iran's closest regional ally. According to Lebanon's health ministry, the strike hit a residential building. The result, 2 people killed, 20 injured. More importantly, the strike reportedly took place without prior coordination with Washington. Tehran reacted quickly. Following reports of the attack, Iran's Supreme National Security Council convened an emergency session. The conclusion was clear. A red line had been crossed. The time to respond had arrived. Major General Ali Abadli, commander of Iran's Qatam al-Anbiya operations headquarters, issued a warning. The Israeli military must immediately halt its attacks on southern Lebanon and Beirut. Any further escalation will be met with far more painful and destructive strikes. Clash of leaders. Trump tells Netanyahu, "Do not strike back." While the missiles were still in the air, Trump was making urgent calls, not to the Pentagon, not to his advisors, but directly to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. According to reports from Axios, Trump said, "I'm going to call Bibi right now and tell him not to respond." He reportedly added, "Everyone has had their turn. Israel made its move, Iran made its move. We don't need another strike." Those remarks caused immediate shock in Israeli political circles. The President of the United States was effectively telling Israel that the confrontation should end there. Trump later reinforced that message during an interview with Fox News. Addressing Tehran directly, he said, "You've launched your missiles. That's enough. Go back to the negotiating table and make a deal." He also warned, "If a deal cannot be reached on its merits, we may consider a commando operation against Iran, or we may continue the naval blockade, which has proven more effective than military action." Iran's Revolutionary Guard. This is only the beginning. Iran's response did not end with the missile launch. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a sharply worded statement. Its message was unmistakable. This operation is not an isolated event. It marks the beginning of a full week of continuous missile and drone strikes until the enemy ends its aggression. But the most significant warning was directed toward Washington. The IRGC declared that American bases and assets throughout the region were now legitimate targets. Why? because Tehran believes Washington is effectively giving Israel a green light to continue its military operations. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf argued that the naval blockade against Iran, combined with American support for Israel, makes U.S. facilities across the region legitimate military objectives. There is another important detail. For months, Iran largely relied on regional allies and proxy groups, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and allied militias in Iraq and Syria. This time was different. For the first time in more than 100 days, Iran struck directly. The message was unmistakable. We are prepared for direct confrontation. Trump was close to a deal. Then the missiles arrived. Just 48 hours before the attack, the White House was speaking openly about a possible breakthrough. Trump himself told Fox News, "We were very close to signing an agreement. Had this escalation not happened, we might have signed it on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday." According to reports, Trump requested several last-minute revisions to the draft agreement. The demands were strict. First, a complete freeze on Iranian uranium enrichment. Second, a new timetable for reopening the Strait of Hormuz under conditions favorable to Washington. Third, frozen Iranian assets. Tehran wanted access to the funds immediately and up front. Washington refused. The result? Negotiations effectively stalled. And after the missile attack, they may have collapsed altogether. Wall Street reacts. Every missile means higher prices. Many people assume this conflict is happening far away. It is not. Global energy markets track every missile launch. The Strait of Hormuz carries roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. Analysts now warn that oil prices could jump sharply if tensions continue to escalate, and that affects everyone. In America, in Europe, in the Gulf, fuel becomes more expensive, transportation costs rise, food prices increase, medicine becomes more costly, everything is connected. Trump understands this. He also knows that his approval ratings suffered the last time energy prices surged. That is one reason behind his urgent calls to Netanyahu. Trump does not want another war, not because he is focused on peace alone, but because he wants a political victory before the next election. The game is not over. What comes next? The region now stands at a dangerous crossroads. Iran says a week of attacks has only begun. That means more missiles and drones may be on the way. Israel insists it will not allow this new reality to stand. Senior Israeli officials have already signaled that a response remains under consideration. Trump finds himself trapped between two competing camps. On one side, military hawks who argue that now is the moment to strike Iran before it regains strength. On the other, economic advisors and financial markets demanding immediate de-escalation to protect the global economy. And so we arrive at the final question. Will Trump choose restraint, or will he follow the advocates of escalation? Will Israel obey Trump's request, or will it strike anyway? The coming hours may determine the answer. We may hear news of a last-minute peace agreement, or we may hear the sound of explosions that push the region back to the starting point. And the clock is ticking. Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive all our new videos. See you in the next video.